How you doing? I'm McCarthy, and I help people with their breakups. And today we're going to talk about the worst thing to do post-breakup. It's a bit of a trick title because the worst thing to do post-breakup really isn't known till after the smoke clears. So what do I mean by that? I mean, you're not going to know what was the worst thing you did till the breakup ends and you recover and you feel better and you're in a good place. They really aren't. It's going to be maybe a year later, maybe 2 years later, and you're reminiscent and you're going, man, that was a bad move. That was stupid. That was pathetic. But really, once you're out of the fog, once you're moved on, once you have a new girlfriend or boyfriend or partner or whatever the hell you want to call it, it won't matter. But I'll go through some of the things that some people consider the worst thing. And the reason why I'm saying this is you can go to a YouTube channel and they're like, this is the worst thing you can do. It's just an opinion. So probably right now, one of the biggest ones people would say is breaking no contact, right? So just never break no contact. No contact is a great rule of thumb post-breakup where negotiations are off, they rejected you, you're not together anymore, and you can't fix the problems. It hurts when you contact each other. So that's why you're in no contact. A lot of people are in no contact because they somehow think it's just going to get their ex back. It can, but it's not a guarantee. No contact's for you. Now, breaking no contact can be one of the worst things you ever do because of the feeling you get from it, because you're anticipating maybe they'll want to meet up with me. Maybe they'll love me again. Maybe they'll see the light. Maybe I'll be able to build a case. And so someone might go, oh my God, when I broke no contact, that was the worst thing I did. Now, here's the surprise. There's some people that can break no contact and get back together. It's possible. What happens is someone tells you their experience, and this is what a lot of people do right now. So listen up. This is what I'm saying. This is what happened to me, so this is what's going to happen to you. And the reality is, you're not me, I'm not you, you're not me, if that was confusing enough. Think about that for a minute. You got all these YouTube channels, websites, the most information you've ever had access to in your lifetime, however old you are. And they're all telling you different things based on their experiences. People are generally not focused on what happened to you. Like what went down in your breakup? What went down in your life? Why are you feeling this way? They're more like, oh, wait. This happened to me. Let me cut you off real quick. Or let me just tell you how it is. But really, they're telling you how it is for them. And so I just released a video today that's already up. It's called Don't Let Other People's Judgments Ruin Your Feelings After a Breakup. Or, any time in your life. We're constantly being judged. That's just human nature. At the workplace, friends, family, etc. You're always being judged. And you can like it or not like it. You could take it personal or not take it personal. Rocks and stones will hurt my bones, but names will never hurt me. That's an old classic. But really, when you think about it, you just have to put people in perspective. Someone says something and it hurts the hell out of you. You're like, wow, you just said that to me? It's timing and circumstance. They have no idea a lot of times. They might just be trying to be funny. They're just giving you advice that they think was advice that they would have liked. A lot of people have ill intentions too. They secretly kind of want you to hurt because deep down they're hurt inside. People that are insecure or feeling bad about their lives, they like company. Misery la company is an old saying. They like that you're in the dumps with them. Like this bandwagon now of different groups that are uniting over really not healthy movements. I mean, one of them out there that's just, I just can't grasp how you would get into that and how that would benefit your life is black pill. If anyone doesn't know what that is, it's basically saying that if you're not good looking enough, you're screwed. You know what I mean? Like you have no chance if you're not good looking enough. It's like, really? I mean, have you ever known people that aren't attractive that don't have partners or girlfriends or boyfriends? I mean, is that evident in the world? But people get in these movements. Just had a client recently break it down to me. He's like, yeah, I've been really deep in black pill. I've been in Discords. I've been in this. I've met some really cool people. It's more about networking and building a community. But like, at what cost? Like, to me, this is one of the worst things you can do post-breakup right now is change your identity into a whistleblowing victim. Oh, I'm single now and, it's just not fair. Dating apps, they're not fair. You know, if I'm not 6 feet tall, this is a huge narrative right now. If I'm not 6 feet tall, I can't get a woman. The guys are telling me, well, I'm 5'7". It's like, where did that come from? It's like, is this your baseball card? It's like, so why are you so hung up on that? Has it been proven to you that someone that's, 5'7" doesn't get women at all? The minute you cling to one of those kinds of things, you're done. You're actually going backwards rather than forward. So you can find truth in a community, in a group, anywhere, right? And I'm not coming from a place of woo-woo or rah-rah or be fake. If you're, 200 pounds overweight and you're like, yeah, you're sitting there going, it's just not fair, these dating apps. It's like, well, dude, do you have any power? You're going to have to get to work, right? A lot of times you're just being fucking lazy, right? Yeah, you're never going to be Brad Pitt. You're never going to be, some of these other people. But surprise, surprise, it's not all that. Is it more difficult to have more opportunities at women or men if you're not as good looking? But to be honest with you, a lot of the people that I know that are quote unquote good looking and get people easily, it's personality also, but it's also like they don't eat a dozen donuts. They usually work out or exercise. They get sun. That's a big one. How often do you get outside and just get some sun? That actually really contributes to your look and how you feel about yourself. So this is one of the things right now, the worst thing to do post-breakup is cling. This is just my opinion. Is to cling to one of these communities that's anti-dating, that's, let's all get together and hate women and share our breakups and talk about how shitty it is right now in the dating field. It's like, what if you got with a community and you're like, hey man, let's figure this out, right? Like, the world's not against us. Just like the people I know that make a lot of money that are entrepreneurs or business, they put a lot of time and effort into it. Sometimes some of the people I've known over the years that made a lot of money, I would have never thought in my 20s, these people, I didn't find them extremely intelligent. You know what it was more like? Fearless. They didn't see any hurdles or, oh, the taxes are going to kill me. They just did things and I'm like, I don't know. I kind of see this angle where it won't work or this or that. And right now, like I said, for me, so let's just go through this list. We got 7 on deck, and please put it in the comments. Playlist is on deck. Rye Flint, welcome. Good to see you, hun. The worst thing to do post-breakup, what is it in your mind right now? Now, I just made a quick list. Like I said, break no contact. Okay, that's a big one. That's a big narrative all over, right? Okay. It's actually not the worst thing, because when you break no contact, sometimes you get further clarity that it's not going to work and it never was going to work. And even though you were in no contact and it wasn't working, you actually know now, right? Okay, so you can. I always tell people now, they come to me, they're like, well, what if I break no contact? Well, what if I break no contact? What if it's like, go ahead and do it. People are always shocked. They're like, why do you tell me to do it? I'm not telling you to do it. I'm telling you, you have the ability to do it. You're not forced to be in no contact. Okay? Go ahead and break it. See what happens. Break a glass. Be bad. I don't care. All right, so what? You break it, they reject you again, and now you go back to ground zero. This whole idea like, oh, if I break it, they'll never come back to me. That might have never happened anyways. You do no contact for you, and if they come back, it's a bonus. I always stand by that. Now, do I think in most cases when you've been rejected or you've been begging and pleading, no contact is not for everyone and not every case, but in most cases, it's your only alternative to get back on deck. Now, next one, take them back. What did they do? What's your morals and values? They cheated on me. Can you forgive them? Well, over time, maybe. All right, well, you're taking a chance there. So would taking them back be the worst thing to do? No, you don't know what the outcome's going to be. But you're living life, you're making a move, and you're giving them a second or third chance. You really don't know how things are going to turn out until you do things, until you make moves. So if you took someone back and it didn't work out, in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and then you're like, I took them back, I fucked up again. It's like, no, you needed to do that for yourself. You took them back, it didn't work out, they started drinking again, they started cheating again, they did whatever was bad before, and you're not surprised. But guess what? You led with good intentions, and you thought, I really need to see how this turns out. I want to see how it turns out. Because let's say you don't take them back. It's going to be on your mind even more and more and more, because in your head you're like, I should have took them back, see what happens. So either way, you didn't lose. You made an action, you reacted to it. A lot of people, you need to trust yourself in situations. Okay? Now, next one. This is a big one. Allow others' judgments or advice to hurt you. This is probably one of the biggest ones right now because there's so much advice. And here's the thing. I'm on YouTube. There's a lot of other people on YouTube. Everyone's giving advice on you. Oh, this is, and they're, different amount of views, different angles. I mean, this is one of the toughest things. It really is one of the toughest things if you ask me. Okay? This is what gets me is because I'm going around checking YouTube recently with these reaction videos, right? There's a lot of, million views for stuff that's very surface-based advice. Hey, man, you just got to let it go, and you got to do this method. Okay, so, or there's the all women in America are bad, jump on this wagon, and someone goes, well, how much do you weigh? There's a popular YouTuber right now. His first question to people is, how much you weigh right now and how tall are you? The guy goes, oh, I'm, 5'10", I'm 200 pounds because it looks like you're a little bit fat. You need to get to the gym. All right, now, listen to me on this. I'm not like, oh, give the guy a break, this and that. On the flip side, he might not be ready to take that on. Like if you're really a therapist or a coach, right, and you really have the intention of helping that individual, what you're saying is certain individuals, when you do that, they're like, all right, I got a little embarrassed there. You're right. But a lot of people out there are like, they get smaller from advice like that. And you're like, well, that's their fault. They got to figure it out. No, that's how you operate. You're trying to impose that on someone else. Everyone's got gatekeepers. Everyone's got limited beliefs. That's what they got to get to the bottom of. And so you get judged. Like I said, the guy calls in. It's his fucking hero. This guy's, he's been following this guy for, 6 months. The guy's got a book. He's got all these things. And he's like, the first thing the guy asks is like, how much do you weigh and how tall you are? Now, you need to get to the gym. Very surface-based advice, but really what the guy on the channel's not realizing is like, why is that guy not doing that? There's deeper hurdles than that. People are more intricate. And he's like, well, I don't care. You just got to figure it out. Okay? My advice to you is if you're in that state and you're like, where you're like, I can't figure it out. I don't go to the gym. I can't figure it out. It's way deeper than your breakup, dude. Way deeper. The people that have the most trouble, all right, are the people that their lives are in shambles or messed up or fucked up already. You're like, oh, breakup really sucks. The breakup's much worse because you're not happy with yourself as an individual. And you somehow, that was your lifeline, your partner there. And even if your partner was a piece of crap, that was your lifeline. And then you start going to others and telling them, like, you have a void, and you start going, hey, and you get other people's advice. Now, I'm going to talk about it later. Like I said, I just put out this video that's a piece of writing I did for my book, whenever that comes out. And I did a audio version. It's like 22 minutes. It's like a chapter. And so I'd like to get some feedback, whoever watches my channel. But it's called, like I said, don't let other people's judgments ruin your feelings after a breakup. And it's story form. These are stories based on things that have happened to me. But the reality is, people's judgments and advice are just based on their own life experience. So people that are doing really fucking well, whether that's money-wise, they got multiple girlfriends, and you go to them for advice and they're like, dude, just fucking sack it up. Move on. That's not the person to go to. A lot of times, if you're not in that space, it'll just make you feel smaller. This is one of the worst pieces of advice you can get. This is one of the worst things you can do post-breakup. Go to someone you idolize that has no compassion or empathy for where you're at and just goes, do what I did. Guess what? You're not them. And you're not going to get there anytime soon. And you're not going to get there by just watching their videos. Oh, I love this guy. I love that guy. Yeah, but you can't become them in a day. Right? Act on bad advice in the name of desperation. This is a big one. So you're desperate. So you'll do anything, like post a fake picture of you and a girl on a motorcycle. I've had a client do this. Post you and a girl on a motorcycle, and yeah, that's just what's... Number one, you're lying. Number two, if it doesn't work, you feel like more of an ass. Number three, it could backfire in the sense, there's some women out there that would say, oh, you have already moved on. And they don't get... Not every woman gets jealous like that. Some get smaller. Worst thing you could do. Revenge. Big one. I just had a client recently tell me that he wanted to post on Facebook about his ex and everything she's done bad in her life because he still hates her. What do you think I should do, coach? Please tell me. I'm thinking about doing it right now. Don't do it. Why? Because it's not a long-term game. And when you do revenge, it never ends. Where's the finish line? You think you're going to get them back and then it just ends? You think when you do something bad to them, they're not going to want to punch you back? And here's the thing. A lot of times, how low are you willing to go? Sometimes you do a revenge game and someone else is willing to go for the kneecaps, the rib cage, everything else. And you're like, whoa, I wasn't willing to go that bad. I know in my own life, sometimes you're like, I'm not talking about people that are tough. I'm talking about people that are maliciously clever. And they would go to extremes where you're like, wow, you went that low? You've heard stories like this where you're like, wow. So when you get into the revenge game, you kind of think, oh, yeah, I'm going to get them back. Well, where does it end? Because they're going to get you back too. And the last one is to lie. Like I said, when you get into these like, well, I told them I was seeing someone else, but I'm not really seeing someone else. It's like, where does that end? Lies build lies. Have I lied in my life? Absolutely. But like big lies, when you get to a certain age, you got to start assessing that. It's an immature thing. So I would say in my book right now, the worst thing to do post-breakup is to put yourself in a situation where you're taking advice or judgment from individuals that have no idea where you're at right now. And I would recommend booking a live coaching session with myself or someone else out there. Get some hypnotherapy. Get some kind of therapy that's different. I'm getting a lot of clients right now that are saying that traditional therapy that they're having right now is long-winded, meaning like, oh, we got to go there once a week. If you're not happy with your therapy or the style, try something different. That's why I do hypnotherapy and EFT. I think it works. It doesn't take a long time. It's different. It calms you down. But getting advice from your hero on YouTube that's really cool, yeah, it's fine. But are you really in that state? Are you really that person? It's kind of like this. Look at it like this. I'm always going to reference basketball, right? because that's my sport. That's what I love, right? Oh, G Money's on deck. This is a real privilege to have you on deck today, buddy. Listen, if I was, you think like, oh man, if I had Michael Jordan available to teach me how to be a better basketball player, obviously I'm not going to be in the NBA, right? But let's just say I'm playing YMCA basketball, pickup basketball at the courts with some buddies and stuff, but I want to work on my game because I just love basketball. I haven't played in years, but let's just say that, right? And I have the opportunity through a friend of a friend, or Michael Jordan has fucking some kind of be the best basketball player in the world video series on YouTube, right? I'm never going to be fucking Michael Jordan, nor am I going to have his mindset, which the guy is a fucking killer out there, right? I mean, he's one of the most competitive guys out there, right? But if I watch his videos and he's like, look, do this and you'll be like me. Do this and you'll be like me. He's like, look, do this and you'll be like me. This is what a lot of the stuff is out there. A lot of the pickup advice. Well, just do, this is what I did. Now you're saying like, oh, well, you're not Michael Jordan because he's 6'6" and he's athletic. No, but Michael Jordan's more than 6'6" and athletic. His mindset's what makes him special. There's actually a lot of people out there that are 6'6" and athletic. We don't see him in the public a lot, but there's probably, 100,000 out of the 7 billion, right? There's probably a 0.1%. So what made him special? It was his mindset. It was his life experience. It was his parents. It was his teachers. It was his coaches. But people are going on, like right now, it's like, oh yeah, I've seen this so many times in my coaching now. People getting advice that it's not tailored to their personality or where they're at in life. And then they're frustrated because actually the advice is so ill-shaped for who they are that they actually feel small trying to, it's like, all right, I watched a few Michael Jordan, how to play basketball better, and I'm not getting that much better. What is this? It's like I've watched a few dating videos, and everything I've tried's not working, so it must be because I'm ugly. It must be because women in America are just pretentious. Okay, could be. Could be this. Rome wasn't built in a day, neither was your fucking personality or your character. Think about that for a minute. Think about that. You can get, the people don't realize this is why I do hypnotherapy. It's like the quickest way to your subconscious to rearrange some things. You're going to watch a video and you're going to become Andrew Tate in a day. I don't have a problem with his confidence, his gusto. Fuck, man, 4-time world kickboxing champ. That's impressive. But you thinking like, oh yeah, man, he said to do this, this, and this, and you're just going to slide into that personality and character? Good luck. You're going to have to do some individual work on yourself. You're going to have to unpack who you are. It's way deeper than that. And that's the problem right now. So a lot of my clients, especially younger guys in their 20s and stuff, they get wrapped up in this red pill, black pill. It's interesting. It's community-based. What do you really want, though? You want a girlfriend? Or you want to sit around with friends and complain about things? It's the same thing that applies, like I said, to business owners and entrepreneurs. It's like people that complain about, oh, I was one of those people when I was younger. It's like, oh, this rich person does this, or this business owner does this, or this. Yeah, all the while they're getting what they want. Right? I'm going to share I'm going to touch on the live stream really quick. Then I'm going to share a video, and then I'm going to show you the video that I just posted that's a little different than what I usually post. And I'm thinking about either starting a new channel where it's audio only with just stories and a little bit of background music. Because right now there's just so much surface-based advice. It's drowning people. I mean, I have clients that are like, oh, I just watch no contact videos over and over again. It's like, the only way to really get through to your subconscious is stories that resonate with you. That's why I use a lot of anecdotal stories. People want to relate. Just telling someone, hey, you need to let it go. You need to let it go. It's like, oh yeah, it's, you need to figure out why you're not letting it go. Does that make sense? All right, let me get to the chat here. Would you ever take a girl back who is cheating on you? If you're asking me directly, my knee-jerk reaction is hell no, but I've never been in that situation, so I don't know. There might be a circumstance where she says, oh, I was drunk or whatever. I'd have to hear her story first. I would definitely hear her out, because I'll say this. If she was my girlfriend and we were together for 3, 4, or 5 years, I'd want to know some details to it. Number one, if you're ever going to take someone back that's cheating on you, how authentically, honestly sorry are they? That's a big one. Are they really sorry? I've had clients before where they're like, doesn't even seem like they're very sorry. Seems like they're just making excuses of why they did it. If someone's gushing, crying like, oh my God, I can't believe I did this, let's work on this, maybe I would. My reaction, like you're tough, masculine rep, hell no. Is there a circumstance in life that maybe? I've never been in that situation, so I don't know. And a lot of people don't realize that. You don't know till you're in the situation, the circumstances, the nuances. But as of right now, I'd say no. But like I said, it's easy for everyone else out there. Well, let's say you're in a 4 or 5 year relationship. Someone comes to you and they're like, I cheated last night. I feel like shit. It was wrong. I had a few too many drinks at the mixer last night for the company, this and that. And they're like, I'm sorry. I want to tell you right away. And they're genuinely sorry. Right? And their circumstance, like you've been together a long time. How sorry are they? How apologetic are they? Are they genuine? And is it completely out of character for them to cheat? There's a difference. If someone, you're like, yeah, I'm not surprised. That's different, right? Don't most people who break up and get back together break up again later down the line? I would say that's an accurate statement. I wouldn't say it's always true. I wouldn't say it's something to live by, but I'll tell you this. There's a lot of clients I have that I'll even tell them, even if you got back together, I don't think it would be a good thing. What do you mean? I'm like, you had too many problems. Or a lot of people in their 20s, like especially early 20s, is this the last person you're ever going to be with? I mean, that's a big one. Let's say you're 22, 23, 24. Is this the last person you're ever going to be with? What do you mean? I'm like, I mean, people don't get married at 21, 22, 23. So you've been together 2, 3, 4 years. You broke up. One of you or both of you has been extremely curious about getting it in, if you know what I mean. And what I mean by that is, hey, I want to sleep with a few more people before I die. Someone might go, oh, that's gross. That's disgusting. That's realistic. That's human nature. Excuse me. Don't most people who break up and get back together break up again later down the line? Mac is a very smart man. Well, I'll take that compliment. Thanks. I appreciate it. I would not be involved with the red pill community. They are toxic. I'm not going to say they're all toxic. I think that some of those people that hang that banner or whatever, they make good points. Rollo Tomasi's book, The Rational Male, I'd recommend to a lot of guys to read. And it's a good book. It's entertaining too. Like making that your rally call for dating and everything under the sun, you're not allowing for nuance. I have clients right now that are like, I did this, this, and this, and the book told me this. It's like, wait, whoa. There's going to be moments in a relationship where you don't follow a fucking textbook. I know you read Corey Wayne 18 times, and that's good. That's not a bad book on dating. But when you get in a relationship, how to attract a woman and how to be in a long-term relationship, there's going to be some twists and turns, and you're not going to be able to go to the book and go, oh, I did. And then people go, I did it right, but it didn't work. That's life. As the great Frank Sinatra said, that's life. And you have to allow yourself to pivot and go, well, I'm not following a book right now. I'm following the book of Mac. I'm following the book of Rob, the book of Matthew, the book of Sabina. I don't know. I think it depends on, I know a dude who went back and to have a kid with his ex. She cheated on him as a prostitute at a strip club. Also left him after her sister died. Well, here's the thing. I know a guy. Let me tell you something. I know a lot of people from what I do, from where I've lived, for the different jobs I've had. I could tell you stories and stories and stories of different situations with different outcomes. And so if someone sees an outcome like that and they go, yeah, I saw that coming, who the fuck knows? Right? Now you go, oh, she was a prostitute at a strip club. She probably had a lot of experience in manipulation. So you go, oh, my friend was an idiot. Well, were you under that wrath? I'm sure she was attractive and she knew how to handle herself in the bedroom. And I'm sure that was, hey, man, that's sometimes all it takes. You know what? Good intimacy is like a drug. I'm not, when you say something like that, Matthew, I'm not saying like, oh, this guy, that's a classic situation where it's easy to go, what an idiot that guy is from the outside in. It's like, did you experience what he experienced with that woman? Did this guy go without intimacy for a year, 6 months before he met her? What are the trials and tribulations here? I don't know what the guy looks like. I don't know what she looks like. There's all kinds of variables there. The outcome seems like, oh, that's inevitable. But is there a stripper out there that probably ends up getting married and throws her stockings in the garbage and goes, hey, I'm going to go clean here and just be with one man? Sure, probably. And you know what? Let's say this guy goes, I'm not going to go back to her because, you know, she's a stripper, this, that, and the other. And then years later, he's like, oh, that was the one, and he never gets over it. Sometimes you got to see it through, even if it's a bad see-through. Some do it for evil pleasure. Sure, they don't even know they're evil. Sabina, is it normal to have a kid with someone who cheated on you as a hooker at a strip club? That guy really loved her. Well, I mean, Sabina's not going to know the answer to that for all of mankind. The bottom line is that the propensity of a stripper to cheat is probably a lot higher than a kindergarten teacher, right? The propensity to cheat with someone of that moral and value is probably going to be higher, and they're going to be in more of an environment like that. Someone has to know what they're getting into and not be shocked. Seems to me he's ignoring red flags. I mean, a big one's like, where does someone work? Where do they... The workplace is so huge because that's where they're going to spend most of their time. So even if they're not a stripper, but they work at a bar, right? And someone's like, oh, she's a bartender, or he's a bartender. That's not a good job for your partner to have, not because of alcohol, which is also a lot of bartenders, it's like, take a shot on me, right? They drink a lot. But how many people are they frequenting that want to hook up with them? They're also in an environment where everyone's drunk all the time. It's just not good. Unless it's like a little sports bar or something like that. It's not a good environment for your partner to be in all the time. It will affect your relationship. Those behaviors usually repeat themselves. The future, she knows little no consequences. He went back to her to have a kid after finding out that she was cheating. They broke up over it. Guy has a lot of issue. He needs therapy. He has issues, one-itis. Interesting. One-itis is a real issue with many guys. When they have that, they let everything slide and ignore the reddest of all red flags. You know, doing this for a while, I totally understand the one-itis thing, meaning like she's the one, she's special, the soulmate thing. But I think that might be a narrative that they're spinning, but also it's just, if they make up and have good intimacy as a man, that's enough for a guy a lot of times. And a lot of guys, from what I talk to, the relationship's not great, but they're like, do I want to go back to being single? Or do I want to try to work this out? They were together for 6 years. She is his true love. So do you come on? So what happened with you, Matthew? Did you have any breakups? I've seen all these situations play out before. They all went the same direction. Rob, I think that what's happening recently with Red Pill, and you know better than I do, you seem like you're more a part of this community or however you want to spin it. I think that it's kind of like this, and correct me if I'm wrong, Rob, because you're a knowledgeable individual and you're following this arena per se. It's kind of like this. It's like religion, right? And someone has religion, and then there's the person that wrote the book, and then there's the original followers, and then there's a bunch of priests out there that start their own churches. And right now what you have with Red Pill, they're starting their own YouTube channels. And then they're going, oh, these are the rules, or this is how it is. And I think it's gotten to a point where I don't think every disciple of Red Pill is spewing the same things. And what's happening is individuals are second guessing relationships with their girlfriends. Like I said, there's guys that are like, oh, I'm just gonna do this. Like, they're disregarding that they're actually hurt post breakup, and they're just gonna slide into this red pill and everything's gonna be fine. They're just creating one unjoyful emotion for another, but being part of a community makes it a softer landing. Does that make sense? But the core basics that like Rollo Tomasi talks about, absolutely. What it's become, I think it's become something else by individuals out there that are creating their own things under the same flag. Does that make sense? Let me know your thoughts. Why does it mean anything? There is that emotional bond there. There you go. Red pill has been overly exploited. Maybe he has an emotional bond. Clearly she's demonstrating. Mac, you could send the full story in. Yeah, absolutely. Interesting question. Matthew says, are there any happy red pillars? I'm sure there is. The ones that write the books and sell the stuff. The ones with rotations and girls and spinning plates. I mean, I've talked about it many times. The concept of spinning plates, meaning that when you're single, you're not just dating one woman, is a good concept. I don't think that's bad. I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad thing if a guy says, you know what, I never want to get married. Right? This is how I want to do things. I think what happens is there's guys that want to get married, that want to have a family, and they go, wait a minute, I'm doing things wrong because this video told me this and I want to be like this person, but it really doesn't line up with who they are. It's kind of like they want to become, some kind of Hell's Angel overnight. Those kindergarten teachers are freaky, aren't they? To me, it's just the extreme example of a lot of times when you look at what someone does for their job or their free time, it'll tell you a lot about them. Not everything, but it will definitely bleed over into your relationship. What is blue pill? I don't even know what that is. Kindergarten should have a strange psychology. There's a material for research there that they have caregivers' roles so they cannot be seen in their personal life. Huh. Never heard of that, but okay. So let's just take a quick look at a very popular video with Andrew Tate, who's probably one of the more popular people. It's only like 3 minutes. But the title of the video, which this is a remix, someone took this clip and then put it in their own video, which is totally fine because that's what I'm doing right now. The best cure for heartbreak. And I'll be able to react to it afterwards in a short and timely manner. Hold on a sec. Let's get into this. Just take a look at the guys on the panel real quick. All black, sunglasses. So just a real quick thing. This is one of those things, before someone takes advice from these individuals, or these just looking at the guys, not me, but you, whoever's watching this video. Does this line up with kind of who you are? And this big emblem in the back, or Is it a reach for you? Because you're taking advice from, right? Now, I'll comment afterwards. It's only 3 minutes.
Broke up. I was with her for 4 years. I couldn't sleep. And this is before social media. You couldn't just chase a bitch. Like, that was it. She's gone now. Like, she moved. I didn't know where she lived. That was it. And I couldn't sleep. Now, it wasn't like I was crying my eyes out, but I was just, where's my hoe at? I couldn't sleep.
Need something else to do.
So I thought, fuck, I'll hit the gym at 6 a.m., hit the gym at 3 p.m., hit the gym at 8 p.m. I had nothing else to do but fight. So I took all that trauma, all that heart.
Do you honestly think he was like, where's my hoe at? The girlfriend of 3 or 4 years and he's crying before bed? Just a thought.
Break, and I molded it into becoming a world level combatant, right? So there's nothing. What did we talk earlier about how trauma can mold you, how trauma can be a fantastic thing? Heartbreak, depression, sadness, these are all fantastic motivators. I'm telling you why they're a fantastic motivator. You go to a guy that's heartbroken, he has all the motivation in the world to send 300 text messages. He has the motivation, he's putting it in the wrong place.
That's 300 cold emails you could be sending to someone.
That's a lot of money you could have made.
Yeah.
I'll tell you right now, some of the greatest accomplishments in my life have come after a heartbreak.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's that fuck, I call it fuck you energy.
Yeah. No.
You take that and you're like, because some guys.
So this guy that's talking, I don't know a lot about him, but he became a porn star. And one of his claims to fame now is that he has basically teaches guys how to add an inch or two to their weenus. And because when he got in the porn industry, he was a bit small. So this is one of his biggest claims to fame, one of the biggest things he sells, which is fine. But it's interesting. They're like, post-breakup, you could send out 300 texts and 300 emails for your entrepreneurial business. It's like, how many people, one thing I will say is this, trauma, crisis, bad experience, dude, they will ignite you, right? You can go like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm getting up off the mat. I'm pulling a Rocky Balboa here, right? I'm not going to get this down. I'm going to hit the gym. On and on and on, right? And so there's truth to that. The reality, though, is he goes, oh, I wasn't sleeping at night, and then I turned it into, kickboxing, waking up at 6 a.m. Like I said, Rocky Balboa. I think that's great. I think I've had breakups where, like, I get to a point and I'm like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm gonna get better from this, right? But this idea that you're gonna be motivated to do 300 text messages post breakup when you're still hurt, not everyone's lined up that way. And they're just doing it laughingly. Ha ha ha, you're going to be fine. Not one of them has had a recent breakup that they cared about. Not one of them. Not one of them has a concern or compassion for an individual that's really hurting post-breakup, right? Now, like I said, you should get motivated at some point post-breakup to be better, to get better, whether that's like, oh, I don't want to be this way anymore. Totally get that. But I guarantee that they hurt more than they're telling you. I guarantee out of those 4 dudes, 1 or 2 of them had a really bad breakup, and that's what's ignited them to be, who they are now and basically overcompensating. And I can explain what I mean by overcompensating. Now, like I said, Andrew Tate is a great speaker. I mean, he's better than the other ones. He's a great speaker. He's fun. He's funny to listen to. He makes really good points. But everything's extreme with no nuance. It's very much similar to the way Donald Trump talks. It's an art. You use the most extreme case to make an example of, but it eliminates all nuance. The problem is, like I said, someone goes, oh, this is what I need to do to get over a post-breakup. But the individual's not there yet, and they send out 300. They're like, oh, I can send out 300 text messages because I'm motivated right now. If you're in a space where you're still hurt and wounded and upset, you're probably not going to attract a lot of people. Sometimes you need a little time to lick your wounds, talk to a therapist or a coach like myself, and get to the bottom of things. But just to get back out there and just like, oh, I'm just going to start killing it because I'm post breakup. And this is what happened to Tate and his boys. And, you know, they're sitting there drinking Red Bulls. It's just gross, man. It's like Red Bulls and vodka on the...
Will get butthurt about that, and they'll sit there and they'll wallow in self-pity. I've always thought the correct application of that energy is, okay, prove that she made a shitty mistake. Go out and become a fucking millionaire. Go out and become a kickboxer. Go out and become a porn star, whatever. Go out and build 2 buildings, right? And then
So let me just teach you guys something. Whenever someone's using examples, they're using examples about themselves. Go out and be a porn star. That's what he did. Go out and be a millionaire. I don't know if he's a millionaire, but he's working on it being with this crew, right? Now, someone hears that and they're like, oh, yeah. It's like, does that line up with you? The minute that doesn't line up with you and you're listening to this, stop listening to the information because they're going in a different direction than you want to go. This is the problem. These guys right here, they've been successful in different walks of life. But are they really the type of people you want to be with? Do you want like the shiny lights, the emblem? Because really what this is, it's modern day fiction. Okay, so it's actually what's happening now, and it's shocking, like valuetainment with Patrick Bev David, who I used to like. It's just extremism. It's just, think about it like this. Back in the day before Netflix and all these other things, we used to have commercials, right? We used to have a lot of commercials. Am I correct? I mean, I was in a generation where you'd watch TV and you'd have commercials. These kinds of things, they're all commercials. This is a commercial to be like me, to buy my package, to watch my content. But it's not really genuine. Like, let's say Andrew Tate, because I think deep down he has some goodness in him. Let's say Andrew Tate's, I believe he has a niece, I've heard. Right? His niece, who's, I don't know what age she is. Let's say she comes to him and she's heartbroken and she is in a bad breakup. I don't think he'd go, oh, this is just your opportunity. Just suck it up. And like, I don't think he would act this way. This is theater. This is production. This is something to sell you on. It's not really a reality for a lot of the people that are watching it in their bedroom, going through the blues, getting by on a job at Domino's or a truck driver or the average Joe, and then they watch this and they go, I can transform this. They're probably going to have to go through some things first, right?
then she's going to look around when she's 50 pounds heavier in a year's time. They're like, motherfucker, I left him. I let him go.
Yeah.
You can, and internally,
be happy.
My ego could be like,
yeah,
I got you.
Life's going to hurt you, and how you use that pain is completely and utterly up to you. You can use that pain to galvanize yourself as a man and become a better man you've ever been. I'm not saying that I'm only successful because of some chick. I'm saying that every single time that I was heartbroken, I never wasted a second. I was never wallowing. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying. Mm-hmm.
Especially as a young man.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We talked about this on the show. You're going to get your heart broken as a young man. I've had it happen to me.
Yep.
We've all had it happen to us. And it's not even about anger towards the girl. It's 7 years later, because as a man, you're going to get your value later.
Yes.
Right. So if you use that energy to put all that work in, these girls, they come back around, and I love to see them come back. Not because I'm in love again, just because it's like, you know, I told you so.
No, I said this, like anybody who tries to get revenge on a woman,
way.
that's incel energy. That's the wrong way of looking at it. The only revenge you can get on a woman who breaks your heart is success. Success is the best revenge. Just level up slowly. And when she messages you, you got two choices. You can either say, sorry, baby, you're not my type anymore. Boom, you win. Or you could fuck her again. One last spin on the Ferris wheel. Yeehaw.
Yep.
So that's the answer to the question. Put a plan together for the heartbreak if it comes, and make sure that plan is constructive.
Excellent advice, huh? Ah, man, it's interesting times, man, with some of this stuff. Really interesting times. I'll tell you that. Really interesting times. When you say they were never wallowing, he was probably wallowing. I mean, it's so easy. It's like, oh yeah, you could just, not this time, baby. It's like things don't work out that way. Figure out what you really want. Right now, like I have a few clients that they're like, this is tough, man. It's like been 4 or 5 months. It is tough. Post breakup, you love someone, it's gonna take some time. It's part of the journey. Yeah, I agree that you can turn in that energy into getting off the mat, getting better, right? You can, right? But you still need to take some time. You still need to take some time for sure. They don't make porn stars like they used to. But these people, you got to get in touch with like real stories with nuance. Like these stories. Yeah, I was crying my eyes out, but then, I just became a kickboxing world champion afterwards. And then I just built my value and my entrepreneurship. And 7 years later, I was this and ha ha ha. Oh, and she gained 40 pounds and I was ha ha. It's like, these are all extreme storylines that don't apply, really. Right? So, I don't know. It's just getting to that point now. I'm not saying to wallow. I'm saying to get on deck. But, like, there's probably, before you can get back on deck, there's probably some steps, like talking to myself, like a breakup coach, talking to a therapist, getting in touch with who you are as an individual, what you want, all those kinds of things. It's not just 0 to 100 and you're just like, yeah, like Andrew Tate's like, I was like, fuck my hoe. It's like, okay, she was your girlfriend for a few years, dude. It's like, is it really that kind of verbiage that you're using? Right? I don't know. So I just put together, like I said, it's already up. It's already up, but I'll share like a snippet of it. We only got 6 on deck, but some of the regulars. Ron Jeremy. And tell me what you think really quick. I'm thinking about starting a new channel. Give me your guys' take on this. It's audio only, and it's going to be story-based. But this is, like I said, more of a snippet of a book I've been writing for a long time and I haven't put together. But I basically like an audible of it, about 20 minutes, put some music to the background. I'm thinking of starting to put the story reviews when I read your guys' stories out there to music. So let me know your take on this, please. I'm going to pull it up real quick. All righty. Probably might change the background, not sure yet, but let's see here. When people can't relate, when they really can't relate, they make shitty assumptions. Feeling judged by your friends, family, and colleagues. Feeling shame or embarrassment post-breakup. It's tough. It happens. But I'm going to give you a different perspective on this because it's going to happen a lot when you're post-breakup where you're like, wow, someone said that to you? They said that to me? But remember this quote. Don't blame people for who they are. They're only going on their own life experience, what they've been through, what they've been taught. And really, that's all they know. So your situation, your breakup, your heartbreak, they're ignorant unless they've been there before. So I got a little story to share to put this in perspective. It was the 4th of July. I was about 28 years old. In pretty good shape. I was exercising regularly, had money in my pocket, more than money in my pocket. I had money saved up. The reason I'm saying this is I wasn't in shambles on the exterior, on the outside. I was attending a barbecue with my parents. That's right, 28 years old, good physical shape, money in my pocket, money in the bank. The host of the barbecue was my father's hunting buddy. A man who was doing well for himself. He lived on a golf course, had a beautiful pool at his home. He had a lifted truck with all the bells and whistles. 2 kids. A game room which featured a trophy caribou on the wall. He had a job where he made a shit ton of money. I think you get the picture. I'm not sure if all day at this barbecue on the 4th of July that I didn't see him once without a shit-eating grin on his face. His wife was attractive, not my type, but attractive. They were in love, or appeared to be in love. He just bought her a Lexus. She was able to stay at home and be that stay-at-home mom. Mike was a good guy. Deep down, I was happy for him. I really was. I wasn't happy myself at that moment on that day, but I was happy for him. As I mentioned before, I was in good physical shape, but inside, my soul felt sick with regret, shame, and loneliness. I regretted breaking up with my girlfriend. And it had been 4 months prior to this 4th of July shindig. I could have done things different. This ran through my mind as fast as blood pumped through my veins. I had shame for showing up to a 40-something-year-old family man's barbecue when I was single, 28 years old, in my physical prime. But I was lonely. I sat at a picnic bench, sipping a cold can of Bud Light. I didn't even like Bud Light. My mother would come over periodically to make a comment about someone who had just arrived. She seemed to know everyone's background. I wasn't interested. Just nodded blankly and listened with half an ear. My internal thoughts of my breakup I regretted consumed me. You know the feeling. Soon Mike would come over to the bench with a smile only kids at Disneyland for the first time could hold longer. Hey, Mac, what the hell are you doing here with your parents? You're single, right? You got better places to go? He didn't realize it, but what little confidence I had, he just torched it. I didn't smile. It hurt. He thought he was being funny. I wasn't amused. My dad glared back at Mike with a, yeah, I know, type look. Thanks, Dad, piling on. I started thinking about how fucked up my dad was to my mom when I was young, and how it was pure luck he met Mom and she took his shit and she stuck with him. She never left him. Now my mind was shifting from shame to jealousy to contempt. Fuck, how did this happen? Stop it. I chimed at my mind. My mom leaned over. That wasn't very nice of Mike. That was rude. It was pity. But I embraced it. I agreed with my mom. My mind softly confirmed, yeah, that was rude. That was out of line. The barbecue continued. I let go of the fact that Mom stayed with Dad and Dad was a jerk when I was young. I had a good relationship with my dad now. Not even sure why I wandered into that place. I got back to the barbecue. The kids were doing cannonballs off the diving board. Neighborhood dads were downing beers, bullshitting about how properly barbecue ribs were to be made and marinated. Fuck, Mike was right. What was I doing here? The truth? I didn't have the strength to be around my friends that were in happy relationships or what seemed like happy relationships. I didn't really have anything else special to do. I certainly didn't want to stay at home, and it felt like all my buddies had girlfriends. But I'd played the third wheel a few times over the months and found it to be another confidence drain. Watching my buddy get lovey-dovey with his girl felt uncomfortable. And watching them nag each other brought the same. I had this one buddy, a good friend. All he wanted to do is, hey man, we'll hang out. And then he'd bring his fucking girlfriend. It's like, dude, going through a breakup right now. Do you gotta bring her? He was in a new relationship. He had already gone through the breakup shit a year prior. Anyhow, I would accept, and we would hang out. But then he would tell me things like, hey man, you need to get a haircut and lower your standards. I'd think, thanks bro, that hurt. His girlfriend rifled through my closet without permission, announcing that I get rid of all my striped shirts. She hated striped shirts, she said. And guess what? I just bought one over the last weekend. My mind ran. Guess she's right, stripes are ugly. I was in a tailspin. I can't remember how the barbecue ended, but I still remember what Mike said. It's funny how hurtful moments come back to us so vividly. It would be years later, but Mike would find himself in my shoes. More on that later. Over a 4-year period, I taught public speaking at a university in Thailand. Each term I'd have about 35 to 40 students a class. There were good speeches and bad speeches, informative speeches, funny speeches. And there are those ones that grabbed your heart and slid it down your spine. Raining tingle would go down your back as the individual discussed a topic that truly touched me. To give you some background on public speaking, or my class, to be more specific, I taught my class that nothing beats a compelling human story that people could relate to. When giving a public speech or a public talk, telling a vivid story with twists and turns should captivate most of the audience. Over the years, I realized that no story or situation touches any person in the same way. One semester, my speech of the term was assigned. The topic was, when you faced a crisis in your life, what happened and how did you deal with it? Tell your story of it. I, of course, talked about my breakup and how much it affected me and how I was able to change the complete direction of my life through the breakup. I found out later that the crisis was really an opportunity to pursue what I really wanted. More on that another later. They listened to my story. Some sighed, some smiled, some fixated on every word, and some continuously looked down at their phone. My speech's sole intention was to give an example of what I wanted, a real human story with a point at the end. Hopefully a lesson was learned, or it served as a turning point in the young lives. The day of speeches would arrive soon. Students took their crack at securing valuable points toward their final grade. By the second hour, over 20 students had spoke. There were some deaths in the family mentioned. A couple people lost a dog or a cat. And then there were stories of heartbreak from an ex. These were stories of crisis. But honestly, nothing had truly touched me. Perhaps the stories weren't well put or with enough emotion. Finally, by the third hour, one of the top students in the class approached the podium. She started off the speech by talking about her younger brother. He was about 16 years old and she was 22 at the time. She said her brother had been sad at school, but no one really knew why. He too didn't. Why was he so down? She continued on how they had thrown him a surprise birthday party. She smiled as she spoke of his party. They had music, they danced, and finished festivities with a cake. Her brother was happy, or appeared happy. She thought her brother was fine. This is when the speech shifted. She took a sigh and continued. Her mother and her started to clean up and wash the dishes. After about an hour, they wondered where her brother had gone. He was in the bathroom with the door locked. They knocked, but no answer. They knocked again, but no answer. They knew something was wrong. So they broke the door down. Her 16-year-old brother's wrists were bleeding. He was on the shower floor. Blood was everywhere. Now she was in a full cry, gasping in between sentences. She paused. I told her as a teacher, "It's okay, take your time." I was now fully engulfed into the story. I now felt my eyes water up in compassion and fear. She carried on. Her brother was alive. They called an ambulance and got him to the hospital. Her family was in disbelief. The party had went well. What happened? Why? Why? You could see her face during the speech. She was still traumatized by the moment. She would close the speech by explaining that we should take those in our life serious when they are sad or depressed. That we don't know what they're going through, but we can try to be more compassionate and empathetic. We can appreciate their pain better, or at least try. I took this moment to say some encouraging words to her and the class. And then I was blown away. I got up from my teacher's chair and noticed a few students were laughing softly. I was angry and confused. How would this story be funny to them? One told me later, as he was leaving class, she was being dramatic. I was stunned. I didn't react. I reflected and thought for a moment. The story simply didn't resonate with them. The fact that the students could be dramatic at times could have created a bias towards this situation, this story. The class was approximately 38 students. Surely some of them didn't like the girl giving the speech. Maybe it was the fact that they had a happy family. Or maybe they had no siblings. Or maybe it was that they had seen worse and dealt with it. Who knows? Could we even test their reasons? Because they could lie. My point is, not every story, no matter how dramatic, is going to affect people the same. Until they have to relate with it. Until they have related with it, with a past story, situation, experience in their own life. During my student speech, I had felt her bravery in sharing such a story. I felt for her fear in losing a sibling. And just the fact that she was crying touched a nerve. I was proud of her. And I had a sister I lost. I had a friend that's brother committed suicide. And I just don't like to see women cry. It all resonated for me. It touched me. Now let's get back to Mike's barbecue on the 4th of July. The jerk that had no compassion for my breakup. All right. I'll let you guys finish that later. There's about 15 more minutes. Mike did come back around, and guess what? He was in a divorce. I talk about the story a little bit deeper in the end of the video, but he did come back around, and he was basically broken up beside himself 10 years later. Oh, you like it, all right, Flint? Was it a good story? You want me to finish it for you? Was it good? Give me some. We had 5 on deck. Matthew and Rob were maybe not as engaged. Rob's going into Bitcoin stuff. But yeah, that's something I'm thinking about doing with another channel or just posting them on this channel. But maybe we have to start another one. But that's, story based. Just curious, did it keep your attention? Did you like the music background? Give me some feedback. Stay away from guys named Mike at a barbecue. All right, Matthew. It's one of those things, like I said earlier, my whole point of this story, which is long-winded, and a lot of people don't like long-winded stories these days, right? Everything's shorts. Was that, you go through these moments in your life and someone pisses you off with a comment. It's timing and circumstance. And they say like I said, it sounds a bit dramatic, but the moment when I was 27 or 28 and I'm at this fucking barbecue, right? And I'm with my parents and I'm post-breakup. And that's the feeling you get, though, when you're post-breakup. Like, your mind's in another place. And someone makes a comment, like a throwaway statement, like, why are you here with your parents, dude? You're 27, 28. And I kind of mentioned in the story that, I had money in the bank. I was in pretty good shape. Just, because these are excuses people make, right? Like, I was broke, or, I was overweight, or I had a drinking problem. I had none of that. I was just, sad from my breakup, just dealing with it. It was like 4 months out. It was like a 5-year relationship. And I wasn't going to everyone on the barbecue going, hey, man, I just broke up. It wasn't that. It was just tough, right? And then I was saying that, hanging out with friends at the time, they would say things too post breakup where you're like, hey man, get a haircut. Hey, you could do this, you could do that. And it wouldn't make me feel better. And then the funny thing is my friend's girlfriend going through my closet when they were hanging out at my house and going, oh, get rid of these striped shirts, get rid of this. And you're like, should I? You get like insecure, right? And it's funny because post breakup, you're sensitive a little bit, a lot of times. Not always. I would say especially your first breakup, but it also just depends on where you're in life as an individual. When I was like 27, 28, I didn't really like my job. I was doing well, but inside I didn't really like it. And then when I was teaching, that teaching story was interesting because I'm just telling you that I used to teach public speaking. And so this girl goes and gives this speech about basically her brother almost committing suicide. It was just, she was crying, and the way she gave the speech was, it engaged my feelings, right? But it resonated with me because I've known people that have lost family members to suicide. I don't like to see women cry. And like I said, I got up from the, teacher's chair afterwards, and there was kids in the back laughing and making jokes. And I'm like, I was pissed at first. But now I totally get it. It's like those kids weren't trying to hurt her. It didn't resonate with them. To them, it was like, she's making this up, or they didn't have a sibling, or they didn't like the girl. And it's funny because you have to realize perspective. Everyone's seeing things with a different lens, a different filter, a different perspective. And even me sitting there emotionally involved in this girl's speech about her brother that, almost committed suicide at his birthday party. And I get up and there's students in the back laughing and making jokes. And one of them tells me, wow, she's so drama afterwards. I'm like, but then I look back at that and it's like, this is how it is, right? Someone can have some story, they're pouring their heart out, and someone else is like, yeah, this is bullshit. And you think to yourself, wow, how could you be that way? It's because of their life experience and their perspective. They don't relate. It doesn't resonate. It's like Matthew was making some jokes the whole time. To him, it was kind of fun and playful, like don't talk to Mike at a barbecue. Totally fine. Now, what I've learned in my life now, it's okay. People are going to have different perspectives. A lot of people aren't out to hurt you. They just are coming from a place where you don't resonate with them. Now, the funny thing, I didn't finish it in the story. I thought people were kind of falling off the boat there for a while because it's kind of long-winded. Maybe you didn't come to the live stream for that. Rye Flint wanted to hear the end, but I'll tell you the end. Mike came back around 10 years later. I was just visiting my parents. So I was probably like 37, 38 or something. I don't know what it was. Maybe 9 years later. And he was getting a divorce from his wife. He didn't have a big smile on his face. She was cheating on him. And I went out with him, and I didn't mention one time that day at the barbecue. Because it was just a moment. Like, looking back at that moment, when I'm telling the story, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like it fucking hurt my feelings inside. I wouldn't have revealed that to anyone, but I'm like, dude, you're not out with your buddies. What are you doing on the 4th of July? Right? You want me to continue the story? I'll end it for you guys. I think it's about 10 more minutes. All right, I'll put it back up if one or two people say they want me to put it back up. But this is something I think I'll do rather than try to put a book together. These are just chapters that I've written. But it's really a good thing to learn and cultivate in your own life is how much someone says something and you take it fucking personal. When Mike came back around, I wasn't like, oh yeah, remember when you made that comment to me? You know why? Because I was better. Because my life was better. All right, I'll throw it on for you guys. "10 years later after that barbecue, that breakup, that moment, I'd let it go. I'd forgot about it. My breakup. About 10 years later after that barbecue, that breakup, that moment, I'd let it go. I'd forgot about it. And Mike had lost touch with my dad. They hadn't talked for years. When I was visiting my parents and Mike shows up randomly. Hey, how's it going? How's it going, Mike? It's been a long time. We talked for a bit. My dad talked to him for a bit. And then it came out. After a 20-year marriage, Mike was getting a divorce. His wife had been cheating for years. And now he had proof. I thought about that day at the barbecue. I won't lie. But I wasn't seeking revenge. I didn't need to give him a smart-ass comment. I had true compassion. I knew what a bad breakup felt like. But I had never witnessed direct cheating or had kids involved or assets to fight over. This was a 20-year marriage. His situation sounded a bit more rocky. Next day, I offered to have dinner with him and go have some beers. And honestly, he was surprisingly okay. He said they hadn't had sex for 2 years, and he knew she was cheating. He was preparing for this. I thought, well, at some point it will hurt more. Eventually, as the night carried on, he brought her up again and again. I listened and listened because I had been there. I knew the feeling. His breakup was a different animal than mine 10 years prior. But I knew that feeling of a fresh gash on the heart. I was there for him in the moment. I never once brought up that barbecue on the 4th of July. He never made that comment to hurt me. He made it because he was completely ignorant to my feelings, to the moment, and to a really bad breakup. We throw around the statement, well, put yourself in his or her shoes. Sounds simple, but it's really not realistic. You can't be in other people's shoes. You just gotta have been there before. And if they're not in your shoes yet, life's a marathon. It's gonna come at some point. Never take a comment from an outside individual about your breakup to the heart. Everyone's got an opinion based on their own experiences. Seek only those who want to listen and who have been through a bad breakup themselves. And those that want to be there for you. All right, that's it. The feedback was all right. I don't know if I started on a new channel. Dallasification says you're a better person than me, Mac. It was just timing, bro. I mean, here's an interesting thing about this, right? Thanks, Rye Flint. Do you think it should be on my regular channel or a new channel? Do you think it conflicts with what I do now? That's a question I'm kind of wanting some feedback on. So this is something based on a true story that is my life, right? But also, like I said, so looking at it, like unpacking it a little bit for the people that listen to the whole thing, if you want to listen to it again or share that with someone, because I think it's a story that carries a little weight. Isn't it funny how people give different comments? It's like, loved it. It wasn't bad. The audio was fine. Everyone's got an opinion on it, but going back to it, in that moment, I don't look back at that 4th of July or that barbecue with any kind of malice or anger, or even really think about it. It just came about when I was writing different chapters of the book, because this is anecdotal. But in the moment, it was like, damn, fuck you, man. You're making a big deal at the barbecue here. I was a little embarrassed. It was just timing and circumstance. But here's the thing. And Dallas-ification, I don't know if you listened to the whole story or you just popped your head in the door. But thanks for making a comment. And then I threw in the reason why I was at the barbecue was like I was hanging out with friends and stuff, and it just made me more down. A lot of them had girlfriends, and then post-breakup, if you hang out with your buddy and they have a girlfriend and then they have little bickering or they're really in love, both parts of it don't feel good. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, and then they give you advice as a couple, and on top of it, maybe your buddy's girlfriend isn't even your type and she's giving you advice. So to me, I was like, I'm just going to hang out with my parents, going to this barbecue on 4th of July, whatever. And I still was down, but I didn't want to be around some of my friends because it didn't make me feel better. I talk about this a lot of times. You got to gauge how you feel after things, right? So that's why I was mentioning examples of when I'd hang out with some of my friends and they'd be like, oh, we'll do this, do that. The girlfriend chimes in. And then the final part, the third part of the story is a totally different story. But when I was teaching public speaking and this student comes up and talks about her brother passionately and vulnerably about a brother almost committing suicide, and people are laughing. My point is, everyone's got different reactions to different stories, right? But then at the end, it comes full circle. 10 years later, Mike shows up randomly. I was just visiting, because from that 27, 28-year-old person that was there, 10 years later, my life had transformed. I'm in a much better place. I've had a couple girlfriends since then. I'm not even thinking about that. I hadn't even been, I'd moved away. I only see my parents maybe like once a year. So the probability of me running into Mike again was pretty low. My dad hadn't talked to that guy in years. They weren't like best friends, right? And so when he came back around and he's like getting a divorce and everything, I didn't rub it in his face. I went and got a beer with him because that's when I was just starting to do breakup coaching. So I totally got it. Totally understood it. And, I was there for him and had no malice about it. And that's just my point of this whole thing is when you talk to people about certain things, their experiences in their own life are going to bubble up in the conversation. You just can't avoid that. And so if they've never been through a bad breakup and they're doing great with women, it's like Andrew Tate right now runs, what is it? He's a kickboxing champion, and he has women do like some kind of call service. He's really good with women. So like someone's in a breakup, it's like, just get over it, right? How is it resonating with people? All right. Well, thanks for the feedback for that. If you really liked that story and you think it's good, share it with some of your friends and ask them what they think. Rye Flint, Sabina. And like I said, maybe I'll do it on this channel, or maybe I'll start a new channel with just audio only, because I think there is some value in audio only with music and storytelling. It keeps you more engaged sometimes. Dallas-ification says, I didn't hear everything, but I get the gist. Been going through it. People tell me I should be over. My ex screwed me over, but now I'm taking things personally. I'm not taking things personally. I'm 2 years, but my ex had manipulated me after the breakup and used me for another man. Didn't even have the decency to tell me why she betrayed me. Sounds like you got a lot more story to tell. If you want to send it into writemac.com, go ahead or book a coaching session. I know that sounds like a commercial, but I will help you. And if I don't, I'll give you your money back. That's just something I stand on. So, you know, if you're still feeling those feelings, Dallas, I'll just call you. Let's unpack it, dude. I mean, you got to unpack it, because carrying that narrative or storyline is going to affect you going into future relationships. It's going to affect your job. And it's not necessarily what I tell people. It's like, I'm not going to cure you from what happened, but let's just try to reframe this fucker. Let's try to reframe it to a point where you can have some meaning going forward, where you're not bitter, where you don't sabotage a future relationship. Because right now it's going to be, if you were 2 years, but my ex had manipulated me after, it's going to take you some time, man. But airing that out, here's the thing, like, here's a really good example. Let's say you got betrayed. Betrayal's a big thing, man. If you get betrayed by someone you were with 2, 3, 4 years, that's harsh. I don't think I've had a breakup where I felt betrayed. It's a strong word. But if that's the case, you got to unpack that. Sometimes you got to forgive yourself, in the sense that you did the best you could. Because sometimes people get caught or entangled in the net of manipulation. They blame them or they blame themselves, but the only person you can reflect on is your own actions, and hindsight's 20/20, right? But on the flip side, you also can say, I was leading with good intentions, and I didn't know what I was getting into. You know what I mean? Where friends from the outside are like, oh, you're an idiot. You were dating a stripper, or she was a hoe the whole time. Da, da, da. It's like, all right, dude. You know what I mean? That's why when you talk to people, it counts, because they can just throw gasoline on the fire. And if you look at their own body of work or their own relationships, I remember some of the people that were around me. I remember going to like a Sunday watching football. I don't watch football as much as I used to. When I talk about football for the UK people out there and the Europeans that sometimes watch my channel, I'm talking about American football. We're all watching football, and there's like 6 dudes there. It's like 6 or 7 guys, you know. And when you have friends like that, you have your, like, if there's 6 or 7 people, there's like 2 or 3 of them that are your boys, your good friends. And then there's like 2 or 3 that are like friends of your other friends. And I remember this one dude, he's overweight. I'm going to use the word a little gross, just like, and he was like, oh yeah, like, I remember when I broke up with my girl, I just did this, this, and this, and like, she just came back, and I was just thinking to myself, your girl, like, your girlfriend's in a different galaxy than my situation, like, but it still bothered me, because he was looking like, oh, I just did this, I just got over it, and then she came back. It's like, yeah, dude, your girl's like 300 pounds. You know what I mean? It's like, it was apples to oranges. It was a different situation. Now, you might be thinking like, oh, you know, that's messed up for you to say. I'm just being realistic. But if you are in those circles and people make those comments when you're a little sensitive, when you're a little, it's like, but in my head, I was strong enough in my head to be like, I'm not taking advice from this guy. Like, I know his situation is different than mine, right? And that's pertinent. No, it's just like, some people will give you advice, right? But look at their relationship. You're like, is that, yeah, that girl stayed with you or she came back to you, but she probably doesn't have very many options. She's not a very good looking woman, or she's an alcoholic, or, you know, there's all kinds of just trials and tribulations. And people leave shit out to make themselves look cool. The amount of people that come and talk to me about a breakup, they come on the channel, they make comments, they tell you like this much of the story, like a snippet, right? And then we get into like a session for an hour, 2 hours. You start pouring things out, and you're like, gets to like 40 minutes. Oh, let me be honest with you. That'd be nice. I'm not going to judge you. I've heard a lot. I bet you haven't heard of this before. I've heard quite a bit, dude. And you know what? I don't even flinch. And that's big. You talk to someone, and they're like, it's so big when you tell someone your story and they don't add weight to it or gasoline to it. They're like, it's all right, man. Because a lot of this shit happens to a lot of different people. And they just handle it differently. That was my whole point. It's all perspective. It's like when I showed this Andrew Tate's like, oh, just get over it, use it for motivation. That's good advice. Is it doable for you at this point in your life? Is some other variables involved? I mean, someone goes, well, my breakup, every breakup's a little different. It's a little different. The timing of it, the things that they did, the things that they said, the amount of people that will carry something from a breakup. You got to unpack that to move forward with your life, man. All right. Hope that helps you all. I think this was a good one. Thanks for the feedback on the story. I'll probably be doing more of those. No one really said what they thought about maybe making it a whole new channel, but I'll have to resolve that on my own. Because that's a kind of a long thing. But for now, if you like this breakup story that was shared on here, please share it with some other people. I think it's got a good message at the end. And I appreciate the feedback on it. It was kind of long-winded, so I didn't know how many people were going to stay on deck with it. Thanks, Matthew Schwartz. I appreciate you. May the Schwartz be with you, as the great Spaceballs said. Do you think it would be better to just, because it's different content with audio only? Rob, I always know you're on deck, my friend. Matthew Schwartz. He said he used to have. And just to close, will you go live more often? I'm not sure. New channel, it just takes a long time to build that up. I'm just saying that I could put it on my channel now, but my channel's flagship right now is, we'll see what happens. But I'm happy with the feedback. How often do you stream? See, that's the thing. I don't do it regularly. I'm pretty spontaneous. That might be my detriment. I got a lot of going on here in Thailand. Do you have enough content for a new channel? Basically what I would do is I would just make the content just stories. So I could put it on this channel right now just to add to the 800 videos I have. Or I could just start a whole new channel that's more narrowly focused just on stories. So that's my idea about it. But I have plenty of content on deck. I was just wanting the feedback of how much you were able to stay with the story, and did you like the music, kind of the tone of it? And it seems like it was pretty positive. So, last week was everyday stream. I know, I had that one on. Will you go more into the Mike situation? What do you want? I haven't talked to him in years. That time that I met up with him and hung out, I think he's remarried and he's doing all right. But he got cheated on. There is more to that story, actually. Maybe I'll put that in another thing. I didn't give you the details of what happened. But I'll tell you this, Matthew, never trust a guy named Mike at a barbecue. All right, folks. I'll be back on deck probably tomorrow. I'll work on the schedule. Thanks for the feedback on this new format. Whether I do it on this channel or another channel, I think it was a positive. And like I said, if you guys like that, it's on the channel right now, and share it with some other people if you think it's good, because I think it's beyond just a breakup, right? It's kind of a good life story. People make shitty assumptions based on their own life. Don't take it personal. Right? It's curtains.